SREB Powerful Literacy Practices includes 6 major indicators. This video will focus on one of those indicators, developing a lesson sequence.
Okay, boys and girls, let's get started. Let's first take a look at our teaching task for today. How many parts are there to a teaching task? 3. What are they? Focus questions. All right,
For scaffolding learning, I first obviously think with my end product. What do I want the writing product to be, and how do I go through that backwards process in order to have them have a successful writing product that meets expectations? So that includes preparing for the task, going through the rubric so that they see the rubric beforehand, analyzing the task, and also having that task engagement where we start looking at the topic that we're going to be studying. And so then we go through the reading process, which a lot of times in science involves investigations and lab activities, and then using their evidence in those lab activities to support their ideas.
Well, the whole reason they did the virus is to control the population, exponential growth.
Breaking things down in class helps me learn better because everything isn't just jumbled up. Everything has its own purpose in class, and we might not know it, but everything portrays a part in what we're learning.
When we go through the writing process, I want to make sure that they know all the elements of a writing process and what's included in that. So what does it mean to have a hypothesis? What does it mean to have a problem in the form of a question? What should their procedure include? How should it sound? And so it's important to have them look at an example of that, piece out some of that information, analyze that information in order for them to see what it looks like for when they get through that writing process.
Yellow 1, I want you to look at the teaching task and tell me what your focus question is.
How does density-dependent and density-independent factors control population and growth?
Good job.
The teacher sequences lessons so that students set a purpose for learning, actively read, connect reading to writing, and write to communicate new knowledge and their thinking about it.
All right, the next thing, or the first thing that we're going to actually do is we're going to watch a video clip. All right, and with that video clip we're going to do a conversation round table. Okay, now the question that we're seeking to answer here today, can you read that for me? Green 2. What's your guided question for this activity?
What are the causes and effects of human overpopulation?
All right, good job, good job, good job. With conversation roundtable, each person at your table is going to have their own quadrant to record notes in. All right, so as the video clip is playing, keeping the guided question in mind, what are the causes and effects of human overpopulation? I want you to record vital information to help answer this question.
There have been 5 major extinctions in the Earth's history. And unless we take bold, immediate action, the 6th extinction will be our own.
Our next task, we are going to do a card sort. So your instructions are: 2, your task is to spread your cards out on your desktop. You guys will collectively read each card, and you're going to place them into groups of your choice. Everyone in the group must be able to justify why you grouped the cards as you did.
I've seen diseases and family.
Let's just see what all we
Government. So it's diseases.
Here's another talking about drug use as STD. Those could be together. Government together also.
I think this can be one. Lack of resources. People get to lack of food. Then we have no education.
Yeah, we can group them like this because like these are dealing with like government and like politics as well, which could eventually cause a war or conflict, because like if you go against like a country or a government's policies, it could cause a war. And these are just different small conflicts going against like different cultures and like different traditions, which could cause conflict with a lot of people. And then lack of resources. I mean, education is a really important resource. So like education about families and benefits, and this one is like no education. And then famine, causing lots of people to die due to lack of food, which you need food to survive. So.
All right, so now that we've placed these cards into groups of our own preference, we're going to now place them into one of two groups. All right, group 1, reasons for population control. Group 2, reasons against population control. All right, one of two groups.
Causing lots of people to die, that's definitely... Would that be for or against? Because it's famine causing lots of diseases and things. So is that would be for population control? No. That'd be against.
But that could also like make people want to have more children, like for population. But
Or would you want to bring your kid into a place where there's no food? I wouldn't. I'd say that would be... Wait, okay. We're going to come back to that one. Government policies, that... Oh, the thing's gone.
this would be
No education about the benefits of a smaller family.
against
That would be...
against
Lack of birth control would be
Education about the benefits of a smaller family. This would be for.
against.
That's what I was saying, but like what he said, the parents could not like want to bring a child into a place that the
But
child could
is that thing for or against population control?
Yeah.
Well, if there's a lack of food, it's most likely going to be because there were too many people overpopulating, causing
it's-
more people to take more food.
So it's for or...
It'll be
Ooh, that
against.
one's hard.
It
That
would
one's
be
hard.
against.
That would
Because
be
lack of
against. Yeah,
resources is right here too.
I agree, yeah.
And
Definitely.
food plays into that.
Okay, so I wasn't thinking about it at first, but I want to change it because of what I just heard Jacob said. If you have more people, the more populated an area becomes, the less scarce food becomes.
Okay.
And that's going to cause people to fight or not necessarily react violently, but oppose each other because they're going to want the same things in order to survive.
All right, this next activity is called the balls in my court. All right. With this activity, I've given you a piece of text from an article that was written by Thomas Malthus. All right. Your instructions are, I'm going to call on one person to read this aloud while you guys are all reading with your eyes. Afterwards, in your writer's notebook, I need you to turn to the page that's entitled The Balls in My Court. You will have 3 minutes to respond to the quote. Once that 3-minute time frame is up, I'm going to throw this ball to one central person. Now, the only rule that we have to this particular strategy, you cannot talk unless the ball is in your court.
Thomas Malthus suggested that population pressures linked to resource overuse, famine, conflict, and misery in particular because exponential population growth outstrips food production. Overpopulation has surmised would eventually lead to catastrophe, entailing high death rates until the human population was called to a more sustainable size. Do you agree or disagree? Why?
All right, you got 3 minutes to write. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, do you agree or disagree, and why? Stand for me and make sure you speak where everybody can hear you, okay?
I agree with Councilman Mathis, mainly because the Earth zone is so big, meant to hold so many people. So like once you get a big population, people get close to each other, like you lose personal space, you lose food, and you lose solitude. Like you can't go in the woods and just be alone and think you're speak to yourself. And eventually a sickness will take over, like some kind of medical sickness, because like hospitals only got treat such people so many times. So they won't be able to treat everybody and people would die off, cause catastrophe.
Who agrees with Mason? All right, I want to know why. Mason, you see all those hands? Catch the ball.
I agree with Mason because, like, once the earth runs out of food and resources, there's nothing left. Like, and once the food gets scarce, it leads to violence, and that leads to death, and then we die, and then there's nothing left. So, yeah, okay.
And I want to say that when he came up with this theory, he didn't even take into account all of the things that we're doing to our earth now. So he's just talking about the resources that he knew back then, so food and water. But with more people and more technology comes more pollution, more global warming. So we're gonna ruin our earth or die off, one or the other, but whichever happens first.
All right, we're gonna move on to word splash. We're gonna take a look at a little vocabulary. With the word splash, you're given a few key vocabulary terms. In this case, you're given 5. Brown 4, can you read those 5 words for me?
Growth rate, exponential growth, carrying capacity, limiting factor, and population.
All right, now your job is going to be, you're gonna take these words, you and your group mates are going to look at these words, reflect on the definitions of those, and you're going to develop a short storyline, no more than a paragraph, that shows your understanding of the key terms for this particular unit. All right, I need Alexis. Can you summarize word splash for me? What are you guys gonna be doing?
Okay, so we're just taking all of the words that we have and we're creating a short story to show that we understand the definition of all the words.
Like with only a 2-bedroom home, we have to try to fit 4 people in there or 5 people in there. So then that'll be our limiting factor. Would be the space in the bedroom that we have, and the carrying capacity would be that also.
And the population in the household is increasing.
Yeah, it is increasing because twins.
Okay. Or if she's having triplets, that would be even worse. That's really
Triplets or
that's really
exponential. Yeah, triplets.
So how are we gonna start it off?
You can say
No.
Like,
are we talking in like first person?
Yeah,
or
we
are we
can.
talking about somebody? So like our parents are expecting twins, and we live in
Triplets.
Triplets, and we live in a 2-bedroom apartment or house. Which one you said? Apartment is really small though.
Yeah, that is true.
Let's do apartment.
We can do an apartment.
Okay, and then you're gonna add another magnet and continue adding washers.
So I can do
We finished with these.
Okay.
So can we go ahead and start on the writing portion? Or do you want us to wait for the rest of the class?
Okay, we can get started on the writing portion. Yeah, let's do that.
Students move throughout the different stages of the learning process, with each lesson improving their ability to complete the culminating assignment.
The transition to writing is where we're coming back to our task again, okay? And in our task, it specifically says causes of the magnetic forces between 2 objects and explaining the effects that changing those forces have on the magnetic field, okay? So that is what we're doing in our causes and effect graphic organizer. Any questions about that? Finish your reading, okay? And then you transition to your causes and effect graphic organizer, okay? So let's look at the next portion of the writing, okay? So let's pull out that next handout. And that's a front and back. So the front to that will be, yes, this part right here, okay? And so this is where we're looking at the parts of the ADI report, the steps of an ADI report, Okay, so basically the process that we have during that. Okay, and what we want to do is to go through our investigation, okay, what we did earlier, and match up a short description. So for example, step 1, identification of the task and the guiding question. What would we be given a short description of?
The task.
The task. Okay, so we've done that. That's step 1 of the process. Okay, then you go to step 2, design a method and collect data. So then you're going to give a short description of where you did that today. Okay?
The fifth is the filings got attracted to the magnet, and those filings got attracted to other filings. Mm-hmm. If you remember when we did the test. So the result is that iron filings form a pattern similar to the magnetic field lines.
So now that you have gone through identifying the parts that we have already completed from the ADI process, okay, we need to know what an ADI report looks like, okay? So what we're gonna do is look at a sample ADI product, okay? Sample ADI product. Everybody, every partner set has received a sample report. So your sample ADI report looks like this, okay? It's got 3 sections, all right? And what we're going to do is look over each section, and we're going to give a short description from the sample, but we're also going to say what step of these significant elements it matches to. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's look at section 1 where it says, what were they trying to do and why? Okay, take a moment with your partner and read that aloud, please. Read that aloud with your partner.
Our goal in this experiment is to learn what can happen if meiosis goes wrong. In this experiment, our group investigated the research question, how do 2 normal parents produce a child with Cry-do-chat syndrome, child 1, and a child with Down syndrome, child 2?
Section 2. In this experiment, we used a model to gather information. Using a model allowed us to see how chromosomes had combined.
For the first thing is they gave out information of like information that we would learn, like every person is born with 23 pairs of
they would give us valuable information.
Yeah, they were giving you information before they even told you about what they're experimenting about. Because like in the second section, they're like, in this experiment we modeled it, and that's why. Yeah. And that's how you know they're gonna start talking about like experiments and stuff.
Yeah. All right. So step 1 is
they were giving out information.
Valuable information.
What their task is.
Section 2. What did they do during their investigation, and why did they conduct the investigation in that way?
Where's the...
This right here. Have you read section 2 yet?
No, not yet. In this experiment, we used a model to gather our information. Using a model allowed us to see how the chromosomes had combined. We were given a completed chromosomal karyotype for the mother. We were also given chromosomal smears for the father, child number 1 and child number 2. These were used to construct a chromosomal karyotype for the father, child number 1 and child number 2. First, we cut out the chromosomes from each smear. Then we paired each with its match by comparing the length and banding for each chromosome.
Yeah, sorry for interrupt, but now that you read that, I could tell that they were telling us their procedure, like what their steps.
Yeah. Steps.
So they were telling you the steps and what they were gonna do.
Telling what they're gonna do before they start the experiment.
Yeah, before they start.
Yeah, so I think that would be step number 2 because this said designing a method and collect data. So when it's like
yeah, step 2. They basically carrying out their plans.
Yeah, it's describing
and collect the data they need or materials they need.
So when we rate the score from the rubric, So we use this and write how much it compares to this. I would say a 3 because they both talk about they go through the same process and procedures as we have. And section 3. Our claim is that conditions such as Cry-do-chat syndrome and Down syndrome are the result of chromosomal abnormalities. During our review of the karyotypes, we found differences between the mother, father, and both children. We could see that the mother and father each had 23 pairs, 46 total chromosomes, which is the correct amount in charts 1 and 2. However, child number 1 had a damaged chromosome on the 5th pair of chromosomes, 46 total. One of the chromosomes in the 5-foot pair was half the size of its match, chart 3. Child number 2 had an extra chromosome on the 21 pair of chromosomes, 47 total. A condition called trisomy, chart number 4. Our observations seem to support our claim that Cry-do-chat syndrome and Down syndrome result from chromosomal abnormalities. Therefore, either the sperm cell from the father or the egg from the mother had a damaged, missing, or additional chromosome. So this says, what is the argument? And the argument is that Cry-do-chat syndrome and Down syndrome are both caused from missing or additional chromosomes. Yeah. Wait, what is this? Number 3? Yeah.
Let's look at your rubric, okay? And so remember, we looked at our rubric earlier this week, and we made sure that we analyzed it and broke it down into student-friendly terms, right? Okay. What score of the rubric did we actually analyze and look at? What score? Was it a 3? Okay, because we want at least a 3 out of 4 in our writing, right? Okay, so what you're gonna do is based on this report, where'd y'all put your report? Oh. Based on this report, you're gonna score this report based on what you have from your rubric, okay? So you're gonna score each section, okay? You can at least give it a score of a 3, but you can give it a score of a 1 if it doesn't meet the criteria for a 3. So anything below this, anything that doesn't meet this is below a 3. So a 2 or a 1, okay? We don't look at 2s and 1s because our writing is not going to be at that level, right? It's gonna be a 3. But we wanna make sure that we can identify what that looks like. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. So as a group, you're gonna have a draft argumentation session poster. Okay, and so what this includes is the research question. So our CFQ, what is our CFQ? Where is it? What is it?
How might you prove that the distance and direction impact magnetic force?
Okay, so that's what you're gonna have right there. Okay, and then you're gonna have your claim or hypothesis, so your prediction. You've gathered
our previous labs?
Yes, through your previous labs, okay? So you're gonna use what you've already gathered your information on, and you're gonna make a claim.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and in science terms, that's a hypothesis, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we wanna make sure we use what kind of format for that hypothesis?
If then because.
If then because.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if then because, very good. So then you're using your evidence, and then you have to have your reasoning for your evidence as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
to support, or if it does not support, your hypothesis.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but you guys are going to do this as a group. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so you can determine who's going to write. Okay, and maybe you guys can give that person, whoever's going to write, the information that they need. Okay, so everybody needs to be all hands on deck to find what you guys need to decide on your claim, and then find your evidence and your reasoning for
Yes,
that.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, excellent, excellent.
Okay, so we can just go ahead and write.
You can write.
Yeah, I'll write.
So, if you use more than one magnet, then the force will be stronger because of the magnetic force applied.
If you use more than one magnet.
Then the force will be stronger because of the magnetic force applied.
Okay, drafting. Now that we've gathered all of this evidence, we have already seen what an ADI report looks like. Now we are going to start the process of writing our own ADI report. Okay, and that process begins with our session poster or argument session poster. Okay?
As emphasis is placed on deeply understanding and implementing the concept of powerful literacy practices, ask yourself the question, to what extent does the lesson sequence support and scaffold the learning of literacy and content standards in your classroom, your school, and your district?